Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Dynasty Queens. I'm your host, Pamela Nicole, and I've got my beautiful co host,
Nýa-Jolie in the building.
Honey. It's been a monumental time for just us as people. Beyoncé, let's talk about her real quick. Let's talk about these Grammys. She won Best Country Artist.
Yeah.
And what a time to be alive. You know what I mean? Like, just as a Black woman, as a Black artist, going to a different genre and just killing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. First, we're Texas proud, Houston proud of our very own Beyoncé. I mean, she has accomplished more, I think, than any recording artist in history as far as Grammys are concerned. So much respect is given. Cowboy Carter was a masterpiece in and of itself. Along with a lot of the other works that she had in recent years. Renaissance was really good. So I really like how she's, kind of been on edge with like making people like she's shaking the table, if you will, because other cultures are looking like, wait a minute now, how's she kind of going to come and dominate our genre? You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you think about it, is country music a white genre?
Talk to me, boo. Talk to me.
Is it? Going all the way back to like folk music and the blues, there is a grassroots beginning where country music got its early start. There were blues artists back in the day. You had like Bessie Smith and people like that were very soulful, and they had stories to tell. These are people living in the country backwoods of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. They were tired. They were sharecroppers. Their grandparents were probably slaves, and all they knew was work, work, work. You know? So just like the slaves would come together and sing on Sundays and try to make do with their situation, so did these people. They got it out the mud. James Brown got his start, singing the blues and folklore and stuff like that. So country music, to be honest with you, it has its roots in early Black music. Early Black Southern music is where it gets its roots.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Then you have somebody like a young Elvis Presley. He comes into the scene. Do you know who taught him that good music? Have you seen that Elvis movie? Have you seen that Elvis movie? Honey, he was in the blues joints. He was listening, he was vibing. He was like, yeah, this is where it's at, And of course, he turned that into something else. But I just think that over the course of history, we've had such an impact on so many variations of music.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's been kind of whitewashed over the years. So what do you think are some things that we can do to try to, teach the kids the history? Like, let's kind of bring it back.
Honestly, to bring it back, I love that you mentioned bringing it back. I think honestly, it's been alive and kicking since we were in, grade school, Nia. And I say that I was in music when I was in high school and stuff. I did choir, I did jazz band, I did regular band, I did piano, I did accompaniments, I did orchestra, I did everything, And one of the things that stood out the most was jazz band and learning the history, learning, cadences, learning different like lingo and different types of like nuances and ways to, make the music just come to life versus just reading it off of a piece of paper. Like there's different, innuendos, there's different like ad libs, when singers do ad libs and stuff, it's the same thing with like instruments and everything. I believe that a lot of people haven't tapped into it because it's different. It's not by the book, you know what I mean? And that's the beauty of like the blues and everything. It's messy. It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just kind of like your thought process, but just blurred out in music. You know what I'm saying?
You know how I look at the blues? I feel the blues is poetry and art. And I feel it makes so much sense to the people that are expressing themselves through song. It makes so much sense and it resonates with the people. The cries and the wails that our slaves, let my people go. Like it all starts from like those type of old hymns and songs because the only days that slaves had to themselves supposedly were Sundays. That was supposed to be the day to worship, right? But a lot of the time we find ourselves building our own churches. We had to find hope somewhere, something to believe in, a promise for another day. So the gift of music and artistry and rhythm is something that we brought with us from the motherland. Like that rhythm, that soul, you know, it came out as harmony through these Black voices. And the early free Black people that were still living as sharecroppers for pennies, of course they were getting paid now, but their living conditions were not great. They had a song to sing, they had a story to tell. And there's history that people from, what is it, the Library of Congress would drive down to the country, drive down to the South. Let's hear some of this Black music. Let's record it on vinyl. There are the recordings of this that happened like in the 19 teens, the 20s, of getting these Black voices on vinyl for the first time ever and throwing them in the studio. Yeah. And that's how it all started. But guess what? They would use some of these Black voices on vinyl, and then the album cover would have white faces or, illustration. Because we want to hear the voice, we want to experience the culture, but we don't want to give credit where it's due.
Unfortunately, we've had to deal with that for, going to like those deep Southern roots and stuff. I'm going to also add this in. We got Zydeco music. I really feel like with Zydeco music, you got the fiddle, and you got all those little nuances like I was talking about earlier. And you hear that in country music. You hear, when they have their little bridges and stuff, and like white people country music, if you will, like they have the fiddle, and it's kind of the same. It's the same song, it's the same dance, but it doesn't have the heart like Zydeco music, like blues music. You know what I mean? So I love that, with Zydeco music too, especially down in the South and Louisiana and stuff, that's all a whole world of its own. You know what I mean? Like people don't get like mixed up with that because that, like I said, that's a whole different game. That's a whole different ball game as far as like what people put in their heart and soul into their music. You know what I mean?
It really is. And there's such good Zydeco artists, but the world really doesn't know about them because it's funny. I brought Zydeco music out here in Atlanta, and people are like, what is that? Like, huh? People just don't know what it is. Right. So yeah, Zydeco music, of course, it originates from like Cajun Creole culture, but you know what other culture uses the accordion? Tejano music or mariachi. They use the accordion. So I'm sure when it comes down to it, that could have been something that was brought over by Europeans, which could have been taught to them by Africans, or just different ways to put, chords together and harmony and music. I think it's something that we developed like in ancient times, and we just everyone else kind of wanted a piece of it. And, other cultures have their own beautiful way of, making music. But I just feel that there has to be a way for us to get better recognition, because even with Beyonce's win for Cowboy Carter, there are people that are saying that she paid, the Academy for her Grammy and all this stuff. And it's like, wow, we still can't get the credit where it's due, you know?
And we all saw her face on the Grammys. She was shocked, like beyond shocked.
Yeah, she was shocked. She didn't expect to win.
No,
not at all, So I think that was a beautiful moment for Miss Beyonce. Definitely. And also there have been other musical legends over the course of time that have been slighted completely. Like you may have heard about them in history, but they don't get the recognition they deserve. Chuck Berry, for example, he was someone, back in the late 50s, he was the one who would get down. He was the first one to get on his knee and, rock with the guitar. And you know who copied him? Jerry Lee Lewis. Mm-hmm. His whole swag. The same can be said about Little Richard. And, Elvis ran with that. The king of rock and roll, when people claim that Little Richard was kind of one of the founding fathers of rock and roll. So there's so many stories of how we were kind of robbed when we're bringing something to the forefront, and then it's kind of whitewashed and taken away. Why do you think that was something that the white population felt they had to do back in like the 50s and 60s, 70s or 80s?
Right. I feel like, and there's this viral video too. I think it's Chuck Berry. He was performing live, and you see the crowd, and they weren't, I guess, I don't know what the situation was, but I don't know if they were aware that it was a black man. and he comes out and he starts performing, and you just see the faces, like just complete shock, complete, oh no, I'm not allowed to like this. Like, what is, what's going on? I really feel that throughout history, Nia, that people that are told not to like something, they want to go against the grain so bad.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
they don't look bad for their peers. They don't want to look bad for like their families and everything. And I really think that a lot of like the like white supremacy stuff that has happened in the past, it's kind of, I want to say it's them being adventurous, but not trying to get caught up. And when they do get caught up, we got to eliminate the threat. That's honestly how I look at it. And it's a sad situation. And it's sad that present day, we still have people out there that have that thought process instead of just kind of like going with the flow. And, times are changing. And it's mostly the older demographic, you know what I mean? So they are so set in their ways. They're so set in like, oh no, it has to be this way. It's always been this way.
Right.
And times will always change, history will repeat itself, but times change before that, is to happen. But I really feel like that's the main reason why things were the way they were. It's that sense of adventure, but we're not allowed to do that, or we're not allowed to show people that. You know what I'm saying?
So are you tiptoeing around the jungle fever concept? Like, ooh, blackness is sexy, blackness is cool. What they got going on is a vibe, but we want to make it our own. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like, ooh, this is taking a walk on the wild side.
Definitely. And making it more appropriate, if you will.
Gotcha. So kind of polishing it over.
Gotcha.
With the white face to market it. Like how they did Elvis. They just threw him out there. Not to take anything away from him. He was super talented, and if I'm not mistaken, he had some opinions during the civil rights era and stuff like that. So kudos to Elvis, It's not his fault. The propaganda that the record execs and the A&R back in the day were spewing, it's not really the artist's fault. They kind of just throw you, especially in those days when being a major superstar was still something kind of new when it came to music like that. Elvis was probably like the biggest ever at that point to ever be thus far. Who like, I'm trying to think of someone else who could have topped that. Frank Sinatra, maybe before that. Before him, it wasn't really people that were just like, oh, this is a megastar. That's a recording artist. Like it didn't exist. So I can't really blame him for that. Mm-hmm. But also, if you want to talk about other stuff too, have you seen the movie Cadillac Records? And somehow Beyonce is in there too.
Oh yeah.
Who was that? Was it Muddy Waters? Mm-hmm. The Rolling Stones took a liking to him. They were kind of like his protege in the beginning. Yeah. And then they kind of just like started recording his songs, and they took off recording his songs. Mm-hmm. Those were not original Rolling Stone songs. Those were Muddy Waters music. So I just find that very funny. Like, I don't think it was Mick Jagger and them's fault, or I don't think they were trying to shade him or anything. But that's kind of the way the music industry wanted it to flow at that point in time. Because hey, these guys, oh wow, we found some white boys that can sing like the black folks. Oh, we can market this shit in the South and everywhere. We don't have to, separate the marketing and stuff like that. So let's just push these white faces out to make it more acceptable with the same type of, tone and stuff like that. So that's crazy.
And then I like to mention that too with the business too. I think that they're very strict. I mean, even still to this day, like the music business is very strict about what you can and can't do. And on your contracts, you have this and that and the third. Yeah. And it was the same back then, like they couldn't really talk about things. They really couldn't like express their opinions or say, hey, this is what I want to do instead. Right. They had material hot and ready, Little Caesar style, for just slapping on some paper, slapping on a vinyl, and like, let's go with it, Exactly. First, our ancestors were the creatives that made and shaped, rock and roll, and shaped R&B, and shaped all the things that, our people try to take from us. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, it's so sad. But you know what? I was just thinking about somebody that unfortunately passed recently that is a mogul and probably had stories on stories to tell about the business. Mr. Quincy Jones,
Definitely.
you
Yeah.
know, like just as a producer and as, a music mogul, like
Right.
what trials did Quincy Jones go through, as a black man, you know, writing songs for, Frank Sinatra and, stuff like that. Like, what did he have to go through during those times is what's really interesting to me. So I'll have to get his book and check that out and find out, you know what I mean?
I think I've seen something about him on Hulu,
Oh,
and he was raised in Seattle, so he grew up in a place where there was no segregation. So when he came down into like the heart of the United States, he was like taken aback. It was culture shock. Like, wow,
yeah.
okay, I'm a Negro now, like, because he was still, back in the day.
Mhm.
But I feel like he was still so successful, and he didn't let, his race or anything like that hold him back. You just have to really kind of know how to find your niche. And he became very crossover because he was making music for other race artists. So back in those days, I'm not going to call people sellouts, but you had to do what you had to do to kind of to move up in the industry. Probably the first person as an exec who didn't would have been Berry Gordy with Motown, because that was an all black label, all black execs, all black people working on the staff. That was unheard of at the time.
Right.
He's still with us, so he deserves his flowers. Mr. Berry Gordy, you did your big one with that because
Mhm.
you were not afraid to push the envelope, and you knew, hey, it's time. This black music is spicy. It makes you feel good. White people want to tap their feet to the beat, and I think stuff like Motown kind of opened the doors and the gates for black superstars. Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin. This is the first time that we have multiple people in these positions, not just Mahalia Jackson, not just whoever,
Yeah.
Little Richard. It was all these people, Aretha Franklin, all these women, Tina Turner, like what? The first
Roger.
a black sex symbol? What? On
Right.
gyrating on the, like what? Unheard
Really.
of. Like a woman can be sexy and perform her music. You can give a white man a boner. It's okay. Like it's all right. It's okay, Harry. It's all right.
Not the boners, girl. But
Yeah.
going into like country, like we tapped into rock and roll, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I mentioned Tina Turner, the queen of rock and roll, she did her thing. We got Jimi Hendrix, we got some huge influences in rock and roll. And even to this day, we have, present day have a lot of new punk rock and rollers and stuff. Actually, we interviewed one not too long ago. So, we can dominate any genre, honestly. We've got, if you think about it, we've got opera singers, we've got everybody, honestly, in every genre. But, I think what was so monumental about Beyonce with it being country, you have all different types of country, you know what I'm saying? You got the bluegrass country, you got, your regular country. You think about, I think of the rodeo, I think of stuff like that, and that's like honky tonk country, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So for her to even, and here's the other thing too that I really respect Beyonce for, she didn't alter her voice to have the twang like
Exactly.
all other country artists do, and that really set her apart, honestly, because you every time you hear country, honestly, you hear the twang. It's
Right.
always the
Right.
twang,
You hear the
and
time.
yes, in the vernacular, it's a twang always. And Beyonce said, "I'm going to stay tried and true to my voice and myself, and go with it." And I really do respect that. As
Right.
a,
Yeah, and her just opening the doors for the other, black female country artists that are out right now, and
yeah,
her putting them on her album, that was beautiful. It shows a sense of giving back and a sense of, hey, someone had to break down a barrier in the door for me, so let me do it for you. Let me try to make this process a little bit smoother for the next generation of black talented, vocalists, male and female. So I think she really did her big one with that album. But at the same time, I want to bring up a point because even as time progresses into more modern culture, we look at going into the hip hop era.
okay,
Okay. You had, of course, Vanilla Ice became the talk of the town for a little bit, had his run. Beastie Boys, stuff like that. I feel like whenever there were kind of like white hip hop artists, they would become more pop. And the best example of this is no other than Eminem.
Right.
And then I'm going to talk about the one who did the R&B. But first, we're going to talk about Eminem. So talented, right? Lyricist, right? Dope MC, right? All of the above. However, he became so crossover so quick. Right? He was on VH1, he was on MTV. When someone like, let's see who was out at the time, like a Busta Rhymes or somebody, that's some straight BET action.
Right. Right. You're
So
right.
like there's always been an unfair unbalance when it comes to when white artists want to jump into a genre. And like I said, it goes back to the Elvis days or whatever before, where they become the face of the whole movement. Because in the early 2000s, everyone's like, oh yeah, Eminem's the greatest rapper of all time. Whether you believe that or not, there were black people saying that, there were white people, there were all race people saying, hey, Eminem is the best. Why was he the best? If Eminem was a man of color, based on his flow and cadence, would he be considered the best MC of all time?
That's a really good question. And to answer that, in my opinion, probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not, you know?
Right. It's the whole packaging. You have to think of like an exec and what they're thinking will sell records and make them money in their pockets. Jay-Z was around at the time and other artists. Of course, when talent is undeniable, you can't undeny it. Like they have to be pushed to the forefront. The greats of the great, the Lil Waynes and all that. But I still feel that Eminem kind of had that extra leg of white privilege.
No, I agree with you completely. Because even with the white privilege thing, I don't see anybody else that just would top Eminem, honestly, in a different
like Malone or somebody like that, or no one like that.
No. Even Post Malone went country. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But no one questions. He can do rap, he can do hip hop, he can do country. No one will question a damn thing, right? Because white is right. It doesn't matter what he does. I also want to talk about Justin Timberlake because he kind of did his switch into R&B thing. When he decided to go solo and do R&B, he was outshining Usher and everybody else that was topping the charts that time. Justin Timberlake became that nigga. Justin Timberlake became that nigga. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. You're right.
That nigga.
You know,
and it was perfect. It was like, wow, this white boy can do everything Usher can do. Throw him out there. Usher kind of had a hiatus when Justin Timberlake was doing his solo thing. If you remember after Confessions, where was Usher? Getting married to some lady, and we didn't see him till 2009 or some shit because Justin Timberlake had that shit on lock.
Yeah, he did.
Same with Justin Bieber. It's like every generation has, their great white hope for a black genre.
Now let me touch on the 90s though. We had John B for R&B. So, he had his moment. He
was for us.
See, that's for us.
He was for us, right? John B is a gift. My God. Like, honestly, if you watch this, I'm sorry.
No, you're not. No, don't apologize.
I'm not sorry.
You're not sorry.
It's different. He's like, okay, so there's some people that are invited to the barbecue. Justin Timberlake is not one of them because he has too much privilege. But let me tell you who's invited to the barbecue.
All right, let's go.
Who we talk? We're definitely John B. Oh my God, he can make a potato salad.
What about Rob Dick?
Hell yeah, he can come. He can come too. Michael McDonald can come for like an hour.
He can bring the karaoke machine. So he can bring the karaoke.
Milo can bring the karaoke machine. Let's see. Shoot. I'm trying to think of other people, but definitely those, your Robin Thicke,
Michael Bolton. No, Michael Bolton can come to the barbecue too.
He can come. He can visit. He has some soul to his voice. And I'm going to even let Kenny G slide on through.
Okay.
Come on, Kenny. Like, just blow us away. Like, he can be the entertainment for the day. Or we can alternate him with, like, another jazz artist, but we can have Kenny G on standby. Eminem is not invited. I'm sorry. Justin Bieber, hell no, you're not invited. Levels to this shit, okay? I'm trying to think of who else, but yeah, certain people can come. Certain people come and certain people cannot.
So we got the Fantastic Five that are allowed to grace.
Was that 5? We said John B, Robin Thicke, Michael McDonald. Who else did we say?
We said Kenny G.
Kenny G.
And Michael Bolton.
And Michael Bolton. And then for honorable mention, Hall & Oates from the 70s. They can, yeah.
Yeah, they can swing by too.
They can swing by, maybe pick something up and get to stepping.
Hey guys, it's Pamela and Nicole from Dynasty Queens, and I'm here today to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, socialmediablaststop.net. If you're out here as an entrepreneur, an artist, a model, you name it, and you're trying to get your business off the ground, they got you covered. Whether you're on social media platforms such as Instagram, X, Facebook, or if you're an artist, if you're on wanting to get on platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon Music, socialmediablaststop.net has you covered. Since you're new to the game, go ahead and save 30% on your purchase with socialmediablaststop.net and get your business going. Go ahead and scan that QR code right down here and got you all set. Now, we've been talking so much about the men.
Oh, yes, honey.
Let's talk about our aunties that are allowed to come to the barbecue that,
If she was alive, come on, baby. She can bring the mac and cheese. I have faith.
Rita McEntire.
She can swing by.
She can swing by. Bonnie Raitt's always invited to the barbecue.
Oh, yeah, she can come. Definitely, she can come. Yep. Let's see who else.
Tina Marie?
As I said, Tina Marie. That's the first one I said. She can come. Yeah, I'm gonna let Pink bring the banana pudding. She can stay and then she has to go. She can't stay the whole thing. She can watch Kenny G's set and then she got a dip.
Go.
Christina Aguilera, come on, girl.
Oh yeah, all day.
Let's go. Come on,
every day.
Ariana Grande, fuck no.
No, she can stay and she can eat a little bit and then she can go.
Okay, I'll give her that. She can come for a little while. She has to be back on her way. Who else? Oh, geez. Goodness, I know I'm missing somebody. Celine Dion. My God, she can come.
Yeah, definitely.
Come on, Celine. We love you. Come on, girl.
You
belong on the Mount Rushmore with Whitney Houston, Mariah.
She's a powerhouse.
Who?
She's a powerhouse.
Oh, Celine. Yeah. Who's your Mount Rushmore of female vocalists?
Oh, girl. I like international. They got a lot. Now I'm gonna touch on this. There are some international powerhouses that people in America just don't know about. And it's just day and night when you think about what European people consider, and they're right, in their own right.
I have one. I'm gonna let you continue. I love Kylie Minogue. I love her music.
Oh, yes. Girl, yes.
It's a good one. Yeah. She's a vibe.
Girl, she is everything.
Yeah, for sure. She's top of mind when I think of international white artists. And also Lisa Stansfield, come on.
She's barbecue all day.
You said what?
She's invited to the barbecue all day.
Hell, she can host the motherfucker.
Yeah, and we're going to help her find her baby. You know what I'm saying? We're going to put out a search crew. Look, let's help you.
I forgot Color Me Bad. They can come.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Yeah, they can come. They can come. Come on, y'all. Oh, I cannot forget my boy Paul Wall, baby. Put his ass on the grill, okay?
Look, and then just bring Bun B because he got Trailblazers. Go ahead and just bring both of them. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Bun B.
Bubba Sparks, fucking.
Now, new artists. Let me ask you this before we get to the Mount Rushmore thing. Let's talk about Teddy Swims. Is he invited to the barbecue?
He can come.
He can come? All right.
Yeah, he can come. Mm-hmm.
All right.
And the Jonas Brothers can come for 30 minutes. They can watch Kenny G set, maybe if Hall & Oates perform, and then they gotta go. They can leave with Michael McDonald.
Call them an Uber, like y'all need to get in this.
But Nick can stay.
Okay, Nick
Jonas can stay. Edwin's gotta go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are we since we're bringing up groups? Is NSYNC or Backstreet allowed to? No. In the Uber and pass by the barbecue.
Yeah, NSYNC. Well,
90 degrees.
Yeah, you can. Let Jay-Z Suarez, let him come, and let Joey Fontaine come, but not Justin's not invited. And all of Backstreet can come, and 98 Degrees can come.
Yeah, 98 Degrees always. Yeah.
Yeah, they can come.
I'm here for it. That's a vibe.
It is a vibe, a white soul party.
But you know what? Speaking of white entertainers, I think Elvis Presley is the only white entertainer that I have seen so many people dress up as. Have you ever seen any other like artists just, idolized in that way where they're like people are dressing up like them, or they have like whole conferences, dedicated to certain artists besides Elvis Presley?
The only other person I could think of would be Michael Jackson. Those two are probably tit for tat. I don't know who has first place, but I know everybody wants to impersonate Elvis, and there are a lot of Michael Jackson impersonators out there. So that would be the only person I could think of. No one else is. Mm-hmm. Unless it's drag. Drag is different. They'll impersonate anybody.
That's very true.
But no. Michael Jackson and Elvis.
Now, I do want to touch on this too. And I think this is actually a really good thing to put into addition to what we're talking about. I do want to touch on colorism in artistry.
Ooh. Yeah.
You've got Prince. You've got Michael Jackson, which are beloved through all different types of people. And do you feel that because of the color of their skin, the complexion of their skin, that they had more of a pass with white people than other artists that were of the same type of talent and everything during their time?
I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to take it back even further to people like Lena Horne or Dorothy Dandridge, Duke Ellington, people like that. Yeah. Light was, in those days, light bright was bright and damn near white is what they used to say. And unfortunately, the whole construct of colorism wasn't created by us. It was created on the plantation. Yellow bone and all that, that's white. That's old, like Mississippi talk. Like yellow, like they created that demographic to kind of, divide us. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that lighter skinned Black people from the beginning of time were kind of pushed more to the forefront. Yeah. Even with cinema, you had like Hattie McDaniels playing mammy roles and Dorothy Dandridge was more like a sex symbol, but still she wasn't treated fairly. And then going into, the modern day with even Little Richard used to wear a lot of face base and like primer or whatever on his face to make himself appear more
pale. I remember that.
Like an Indian man. Mm-hmm. Until I saw him as an elderly man. And I was like, who the fuck is that? Like, I didn't know, honestly, I don't want to sound ignorant. I didn't know that, the texture of his hair was more coarse. I didn't know that he was that dark in the face because he always had, the slick back and he did a little mustache. He resembled more like an Indian man. Yeah. Or, more passable, I guess, or more acceptable at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
But with Michael Jackson, Michael Jackson was never like chocolate. He was brown skin at first, and he had a lot of success as a child star. And not to mention his first 2 albums, he was still brown skin.
Very true.
Yeah. And then he kind of transitioned and people just already were like, oh, we love you because you're just right. Like, you can't even deny this guy. He's too fucking talented. Mm-hmm. And he transitioned, whatever. But he already had that whole adoration and fan base while he was still brown skin.
Very true.
Thriller, the whole Thriller era.
Mm-hmm.
All of that. So
I just remember in the 90s, like these little white girls just throwing themselves on stage. You know what I mean? Like, you
Right.
don't see that no more. You don't see people doing that no more. You don't see
No,
like that depth of idolization
no,
for artists. You know what I'm saying?
no. The closest would, I guess, be Beyonce, but for everybody else, it's like nowadays celebrities are so accessible because of social media. Like you can literally click on whoever your favorite artist is, from Ariana Grande to Carisha to anybody in between, right? Look at the spectrum. And they may be brushing their teeth. Oh, I got dragon breath in the morning. They burp, they fart. So that kind of stuff makes people more relatable. And in years past, the 90s and 80s, they didn't have that. They had tabloid.
That's true.
Right, magazines, where you're automatically glossed over. But
Mhm.
Instagram, it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. You get the photo op, and then if someone goes live or they're doing stories, you can get to see who they are.
Exactly.
So they, in a sense, they still have that stardom, but it's more humanized. So we are never going to see that again. And
Mhm.
that's the reason I think Beyonce doesn't go. People are like, why doesn't she interact? Because she doesn't want to lose that. She doesn't
That
want to become as human as the other artists have, because she does not go live on social media. She doesn't do
no,
all this posting. We don't know what her day-to-day life is.
no, no.
Everybody else does.
I think that keeps her authentic because she's pretty much untouchable.
Right,
know,
exactly.
really and truly, she's very untouchable.
Even her counterparts, Kelly Rowland and stuff, they'll post more often and more like realistic content with their kids and stuff. Where you're like, okay, Kelly's like the girl next door. She's like very talented, beautiful, but she's relatable. So
Right.
Beyonce has purposely kept that barrier to
Mhm.
keep her level of stardom that nobody else has. Because I'm
But
sure
I,
Taylor Swift is on her Instagram, hey, guys, you've been tired, long day. Beyonce doesn't do that really, unless it's a documentary. So you'll see 45 minutes of it. You don't see it every day. You may see it every 10 years. Like, oh, every time Beyonce has a special on Netflix, oh, let's watch.
let's
What's she
watch
doing?
it. I
What's
just
she doing? Because
and
we
the
never see this bitch on social media doing nothing.
very true. Now, I think Taylor Swift is probably one of the most relatable people, and she's in the public eye so much with just what she's doing and like her films and everything else.
Right.
But I
Exactly.
do respect that about Beyonce, keeping it real low profile and doing her thing because, like I said, she's killing the game still to this day. We were in high school when she started out, and you
Yeah.
know successful Destiny's Child, and it's just like look at how much growth like over this period of time.
She's been in the game as long as the young adults at this point. Like she said, 25 years to have
Mhm.
that same and not lose any momentum, but only continuously gain more momentum with every album, with every year, with every, still holding her own, still looking beautiful, graceful, and still being able to get the routines and everything and not skipping a beat. Just the work ethic. If you think about it, a lot of people don't realize touring is strenuous and it's hard, and you going to sleep on buses and waking up in a new city and doing your concert, maybe getting 3 hours of sleep. It's just a lot. Then they got to
Yeah.
do press in between, hair and makeup, some photo shoots, interviews. It is a lot of work. So for people to say, oh, she has it so easy, no, she had to work hard. She even said that as a child, her dad would make her run around the Bracewood Bayou or somewhere out there in heels, her and the other girls,
Whoa.
to just train their legs for performance and their voices for endurance. So she was taught that work ethic. People can say whatever they want to about her father, but at the end of the day, the basic fundamentals of her work ethic that she portrays to this day were rooted from him. He is
She is who she is because of that man. She is who she is because of her daddy.
because of him. Tina Knowles is great, but that daddy embedded that into her.
Yes.
And I see her, giving that energy to Blue, allowing her to perform, and how Blue got better with every performance and really giving it her all. I feel that she's either inherited or nature, nurture, or both, where she's automatically like, okay, this is the family I was born into, because she's old enough now to know what the fuck's going on. This is the position I've been given, so I'm going to hold my own. If I can't sing, I'm going to dance my ass off to make my people proud. Something. So.
I love her demeanor too. She's very much her mother's child. You know what I mean? Like you don't ever see or hear any like crazy stuff about her. She's very poised, you know, and I love it. I love that, that shows that Beyonce's doing a good job. She's raising a nice, beautiful black woman and
Mm-hmm.
and I love that. I love that for their family.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, we could go on and on for days about this topic. We still have so much to change in the industry overall with music, even with film and entertainment, with whitewashing and stuff like that. But I do like how in later years there have been people of darker hues that are, making an impact, like Coco Jones or people like that, or even someone that's plus size like Lizzo, kind of breaking barriers. Or, we had Lauryn Hill. That was probably the first like beautiful, like dark-skinned woman who actually was getting recognized for her art in music that
Yes.
way. That way.
And she is everything.
But there's been so far and few in between since her that have made it to that crossover level. Jennifer Hudson and Fantasia, it seems like people that were on American Idol kind of had a better shot. But besides that, it hasn't really been too many darker skinned women of color that have just made an impact on the pop culture scene, not because of lack of talent, just because of lack of pushing that artist, because of their look or whatever,
No, you know who I think will actually break that barrier? I think Doechii will break that barrier. I see that. I foresee that for her. She is amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
She just has that charisma. She has everything. If you watch the Grammys and you saw her performance, it's like, oh, she's very avant-garde and it's very, it's respectable. And I think a lot of different races can attest to that and appreciate it. You know what I mean?
I so agree. I wish her the best as a new artist. I know just a couple years ago, she said she was struggling and homeless. So it's really beautiful to see the full circle and see people that are really talented making it, not just gimmick acts, but people that actually have real talent. Because, honey, a whole nother episode for who I think is a gimmick.
Oh.
There's a lot of,
like,
and some of those people are out here where I am. If a couple names come to mind, I'm sure you probably already know what I'm talking about. Like, just think of the most ratchet shit you can think of, right? Yeah, those folks. So there's a lot of gimmicks out there, or people that just don't really have the talent, but they may be marketable in a buffoonery type of way that really doesn't showcase us in the best light either. So that's kind of become a thing too.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I really don't want to say any names, but we know what I'm talking about. And I'm sure the viewers know who I'm talking about. It's a specific person.
Yeah. Not a cup of tea, but best to you, I guess.
Right. Kudos to my girls from Houston, like Megan Thee Stallion. Like, oh, I'm so proud of her, really doing her thing. Like, my goodness. And even Glorilla from Memphis, like girls like that, the underdogs. I love to see y'all win. And they are really talented as well, like so talented. Yeah. So I'm just happy for all the girlies that are really doing their thing. People like Doechii, like you said, representing more darker tone women, because unfortunately our sister Little Kim felt that she had to start bleaching.
And she was beautiful as is. Like,
so it is what it is. But I love all of our beautiful women in the industry. And I just wish everybody, the best and continue with their artistry. So, regardless of your race or color, but let's just know that when it comes to this music stuff, we kind of innovated the culture here in America, and the rest of the world has adapted and learned and taken from us. Even African cultures have tried to like listen to our music and kind of be like, okay, let me get with African American culture. So,
but we just got to keep pressing forward. Like I said a couple episodes ago, we as people, unity, as I said before.
Yeah.
But again, just congrats to Beyonce. Like I said, I'm proud. She's from Houston. Just amazing job. And I'm really excited to see what comes from, her win. I'm really excited to see, for the forefront, like if there's going to be any like country bands, all black country.
That would be dope.
could you imagine how lit the rodeo would be and have like some all black bands for like, African American night?
Some fine black men and some cowboy hats. Girl, yes.
You
I
the
love
talent agent, Miss Ma'am, get it together.
it. Okay, right. So once again, you guys, we want you all to interact with us. So make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And let us know how you feel about this and the impact that, Black people have had on the culture overall, of course, music. We would love to hear you share your thoughts. And just let's keep this ball rolling because this is an ongoing conversation. So we're always trying to be impactful and, do our part. So in closing, once again, I am your girl, Nia-J, and I have my wonderful, beautiful co host,
Pamela Nicole.
And you're watching Dynasty Queens. Peace out.